Yo, what's up, everyone? I am. This is after the video I've uploaded about how I said my first video back is going to be a vocal. This just going to be part 2 to what if Naruto is the reincarnation of Hit. And I don't know if a lot of you seen the video that I dropped before this will eventually drop, but basically I was saying that I couldn't think or focus on making what ifs. I have a few what ifs, like new what ifs, old what ifs that I had created when I first came back to YouTube, but I didn't drop because I didn't feel like they were, up to par. And then there's the ones that I was creating while I've been gone, but like I just couldn't like think or like put it into motion because whenever I tried to like put it down in text and story format, it just wasn't going. Like my brain would just poof. But it's getting better. And I got stories that I'm working on now. Hold up, let me show you. See, I got Yuta and Twin Star Exorcist coming out. I got this series coming out. This is gonna be something I've restarted it because I didn't like where I went with it originally. Kilo and Naruto's next part is coming out, and Morihgen Take will be one of the new other stories I'm dropping around the time I come back. And then I have Yuta and Kasha's Hero. That's gonna come out after I'm finished with the Yuta and Twin Star Exorcist series. And Sinu Deku was supposed to come out after that, but you know. And where it says Killua Gon Bell, I accidentally put the name, that for the name. It's actually DG Kazuya, which I created when I first fully came back to like YouTube after I got this phone. But I just never, I could not physically think of what to do with it. Like I rewatched the first part over and over again. I couldn't think on what to do. So that's when I made Killua and Gon Bell. And then it all went from there. But I'm hopefully gonna try to get part 2 out by the second week. Like I'm fully back to YouTube. I'm gonna try. Because where I want this to go, I could not put it down. But I have a feeling like if I could just change a bit of it up in the second part, I think I could be able to fix it into the direction I want it to go in. So yeah. But with that being said, and us being 3 minutes in, let's finally begin part 2 of what if Naruto was the reincarnation of him. And if you hear this noise, sorry if that was kind of loud. I'm drinking a water bottle, so if I pause periodically, it's because I'm drinking water. But we can begin now. So we begin this story with Naruto with Team 7 and Tazuna arriving at Tazuna's house, and Tazuna would introduce everyone to his daughter Tsunami. And she'd greet everyone with everyone greeting her back. But Naruto, Sasuke, and Kakashi would be doing their own things. Naruto just kind of sitting there, he's manipulating different elements into his hand, trying to make out a new type of, ability that he can use in his, in his fight in his upcoming fights, right? And Kakashi and Sasuke are just talking about things, while as she's talking to Tsunami. And the first thing they'd say to each other was that they both, would go up to her and she'd say, "You look very beautiful." And Tsunami would say, "Thank you, you're very beautiful." Sorry for the pause. But she'd say she was beautiful as well. And then they'd talk while Tsunami was cooking, and would help out a bit. And then about 10 minutes later, when the food is done, everyone would be seated eating. And then all of a sudden, the door would open and a kid would enter. And he'd say, "Yo, Gramps, you finally back?" And who are these people? And this would kind of offend Sasuke by the way he said "these people." But everyone else wouldn't really care. And Tazuna would say, "Welcome back, Inari, and these are the Leaf Shinobi that I went to go get to help out with the Gato problem." And with this, Inari would be kind of annoyed, and he'd be like, "So they're here to try to be some type of heroes." And Naruto would honestly not even care about what this kid is saying. Ino would just be too busy looking at Naruto eating, and Sasuke would be trying to force his Sharingan to evolve, but it wouldn't be working. And Kakashi would flick Sasuke's forehead and tell him to eat because he didn't want him to put any more strain on his eyes. And so Inari, seeing that none of Team 7 cared about what he just said, would get even more annoyed. And he'd start to talk, he'd start talking, but then it soon turned into a yell. "You guys think that you're gonna be some type of heroes? Watch. After Gato and his men recuperate, they're gonna be walking around your bodies on pikes." And Sasuke would finally look up, not Naruto, but Sasuke. He'd look up and he'd say, "Listen, kid." But Naruto would stop him. And he'd say, "Kid, listen. You see, there are 3 different types of shinobi, right? And you see, we're in the first category. We're the actual ninja. You see, the type that actually gets shit done. Then there's the second type, who does their job, but then eventually they quit or they die. And the third type, who doesn't train, who's just naturally gifted, and then they die because of it. See? And I put my team in the first category because not only are only 2 of us technically naturally gifted, well, mostly Sasuke, but me and Sasuke are technically naturally gifted, but we work our ass off. And Ino, she's working hard to keep up with us. And our sensei, he was born a prodigy. He trained hard to increase that. And now look at him, a Jonin. Weren't you a Jonin by the age of... I honestly can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it was 14. So he'd say, "Weren't you a Jonin by the age of 14? And if I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, by the way. And Kakashi would kind of nod to this, and he'd say, "Listen, kid, we're basically a team full of prodigies and hard workers. Let's put it that way. And you see, if you want to diss my team, go ahead. If you want to talk shit about my team, go ahead. But claiming that me and my teammates are gonna die to some random guy named Gato? Oh, you've gotta be kidding me. Not only will I kill this guy Gato, I'll cut his head off and leave it on the bridge." And Naruto would say this, now exuding a purplish aura, but then Kakashi, who would be drinking something out of his cup, would just bonk him over the head after finishing his drink. And Naruto would kind of calm down, and he'd be like, "What was that for?" And he'd say, "Calm your ass down. That's enough." He's already scared. And Inari, who would have been terrified by the pressure that Naruto was exuding while talking, Naruto would apologize and continue eating before, once he finished, he'd tell Tsunami that the food was delicious, and she'd show him to a room. And then she'd just leave him there, as Naruto would lay down on the bed and instantly fall asleep. Or go into his mindscape, because, that's basically whatever, right? And after this, Inari would have went up to his grandfather and said, "These guys are weird. I don't like them here." And Sasuke, again, who was going to say something, would get stopped by Kakashi, and this would kind of tick off Sasuke. But there was nothing he could do at the moment, so he just let it slide. And so Kakashi, Sasuke, and Ino, after they're done eating, would go outside into the forest, and then they'd work on tree and water walking. And then I'd say after 3 days, by the end of this day, leading into the next day, they'd perfect it. And they'd get a rest, and then the next day, they'd start working on jutsu. And Sasuke would be working on dodging and trying to improve his Sharingan. Which by the end of the week, yes, I'm giving them a whole week, he'd master perfect 3 tomoe in both eyes. And Ino would have perfected her sensory abilities. Like, her sensory abilities would be, I wouldn't say perfected it, like, because you technically can't perfect your sensory abilities. Like, her sensory abilities is like very high, right? Like, she can sense a genjutsu from over a mile away. I say that. So, like, I wouldn't say a mile. Alright, so if there's a genjutsu on a building, she can sense it before even entering the premises of the building. So, like, as soon as she step on the building grounds, she'd be able to sense a genjutsu that's going on inside the building, right? So, needless to say, the bridge that they're going to, like, she'd be able to sense everything that's going on around her, right? And so, we'll eventually do a time skip to, like I said, the end of the week, where they're back on the bridge protecting Tazuna. But Naruto still hasn't woken up. I said woken up. As all of a sudden, mist would roll in. Give me a second. Sorry about that. But like I said, all of a sudden, mist would roll in. And after this mist would come up, Haku, with his mask on, and Zabuza would show up. And Zabuza would look, and he'd be looking around, and he'd say, "Where's the brat who can hit hella hard?" And Kakashi would say, "Your fight's with me. Naruto's still resting." As he'd dash at Zabuza, and they just vanish into the mist, but Ino would still be able to sense them, so she knows that they're fighting. While as Sasuke would just calmly walk up to Haku, and Haku would walk up to him, like they'd meet like at the same area they were, so a good distance away from Kakashi and Zabuza, but like, Ino could still sense them. Like, there's no other way to put it besides Ino's sensory ability is just off the roof, right? So Ino would be in a defensive position, holding out a kunai in her hand, with a hand sign up in one other hand. And I'm gonna say that she's able to use wind ninja, like wind. I'd say a wind and water. Yeah, wind and water. She. I don't know her actual. No, I'd say wind and earth. Yeah, wind and earth, right? Because it also helped with her ninja century, but she could use earth. Give me a second. Sorry about that. I don't know if you heard that, but the puppies were barking. Not the bigger dogs, but like the puppies. So I went to go feed them and give them water. But back to the story. So after after a good while, I'd say about 10-20 minutes, we'd cut back to Naruto, who was just waking up, and he'd be holding his head. He'd be like, "Damn, I got a mean ass headache, and I'm hungry as hell." And so he'd get up and walk out of the room, but something's different in Naruto this time. Like, he'd notice it as soon as he'd step out of the bed. Like, the noise and all of that from, like, him stepping, him running, him jumping, it's just gone. And he'd smirk, he'd say, "So, my body's finally fully adapted to the ability of moving silently." And it's not a power, it's just, like, he could use it perfectly inside his mindscape, like, but, like, him using it on the outside took a while to, like, for his body to fully get adjusted to. And so I'm saying that he perfected it today, right? Like his body fully perfected it while he was. So he'd smirk as he'd go downstairs, sensing the two guys that were in there. And then he'd see Tsunami and Inari tied up as one of the guys was finna strike at Inari with his katana, the tall, skinny guy. Right? And then all of a sudden, his neck would like turn upside down and it'd be broken as Naruto would take his sheath and catch the katana in the sheath. And Naruto would then unsheath the katana and then cut off the other guy's head. And he'd use a winjutsu to push their bodies out the door, keeping the blood from getting on Inari and Tsunami. And then Naruto would cut them free. As then all of a sudden, Naruto would finally, like his stomach would growl. And he'd go, damn, kinda hard to fight on an empty stomach. And Tsunami would say, there's a sandwich in the refrigerator. And Naruto would say, thank you. But, I'm assuming everyone already went to the bridge. And she'd say, yeah, that's where they said they're going. And so Naruto would hurry up, grab the sandwich, then rush out of the house, sending out shadow clones into the forest, which would take care of the other men that were in the forest. And then they'd poof, as Naruto would then get the information of what they were planning. And he'd smirk and then like dash full speed to the bridge. And he'd stop before he entered the bridge, as all of a sudden, like he'd stop at the edge and Ino would sense him. And she'd sense him adding wind chakra to the katana. And so she'd move Tazuna out of the way. And she'd yell, get down. As Naruto would swing into the middle of the thing, adding ki to it, which would work like a vacuum, which would take all of the mist he'd swipe down the middle, and the slash would go out, like towards off the bridge, and the mist would follow it. And then all of a sudden, like it'd just be a thin layer of mist, like it was barely noticeable, right? That's still left on the bridge, because most of the mist is now gone. And Naruto would see Kakashi and Zabuza go start back fighting, with Kakashi now gaining the upper hand. And at this point, he's just absolutely like demolishing Zabuza, who can't even, who's not able to use the Executioner's Blade the way he wanted to, because Kakashi is getting too close and isn't giving him the range he needs. So he's forcing him into a taijutsu battle of only hand-to-hand combat. And then Naruto would look over and he'd vanish and appear next to Ino, and he'd pat her on the head. And she'd blush at this and he'd say, you're doing a good job, but I'll end this now. And she'd say, yeah, do it. As Naruto would then appear next to Sasuke and block a whole bunch of Senbon that were coming his way. And Sasuke, who only has 4 Senbon, that like he got cuts and scratches all over him, but like he only got hit in the back by 4 Senbon. Like, even though the mist was thick and he could barely see for real, with his improved visions, with his improved Sharingan, he's able to see more and see clear. So as soon as the Senbon got into a certain range of Sasuke, he was able to block and dodge him. But like I said, he got hit by 4. And Naruto would pull him out. Like he'd say, so Sasuke, you got hit. And Sasuke would say, man, he snuck me. See, I was blocking his Senbon and he came by like it was a drive-by or something. He wouldn't say drive-by, by the way, but you know, like he'd say he came by out of nowhere and just threw him into my back. And then I got cut and scratches all over the place from the other ones that I didn't have the chance to block yet. And Naruto would pull him out and he'd say, sounds like a bunch of excuses to me. And Sasuke would be kind of irritated, but then he'd start laughing. And Naruto would as well, which would confuse Haku, as he thought Sasuke was on his brink of, defeat. But Sasuke would then just gain this immense amount of energy out of nowhere. And he'd say, I guess I'll stop holding back. And Naruto would say, nah, I'll end this. And Sasuke would say, well then, we'll end this. And Naruto would say, why the what? Bro, what? And Sasuke said, you heard me. I'm going to help. And Naruto would be annoyed. And so would Sasuke as he'd see Naruto's like annoyed face. And then they'd like have this like sibling quarrel where they'd be like hitting each other and pushing each other and stuff like that. And this would also confuse Haku, who would think they were distracted. And he'd jump out of the mirrors, which Naruto and Sasuke would both push each other away and smirk at. As Naruto would jump after Sasuke pushed him, he'd push Sasuke, right? And they both fly to the edges of the mirrors, which would cause Haku to look over and see which one to go after. But then all of a sudden, he couldn't move. As Naruto would calmly walk up to him and then punch the hell out of him and then unfreeze time, because he used time skip. And he'd be going straight for Sasuke, who would just punch him straight into the ground, then grab him and then throw him back at Naruto. And then he'd shoot a fireball at him. As Naruto would grab Haku by the head, and then he'd hold him up as the fireball would hit him. As you know, none of the fire would hit him because he saw that Haku in his way. It was about Haku was about bigger than him. Like he was skinny and all. Yeah, that you know. Yeah, I got yeah. But anyways, after this, Naruto would throw Haku into the air. And Haku would see that he was heading towards a mirror, and he'd smirk. As then all of a sudden, Naruto would unsheath the katana and swipe upwards, which would cut the bottom half of the mirror off, and then it'd blow up as if something caused it to explode, which would shock Haku, who was going out of the mirror, only to be met by an axe kick from Sasuke, who would slam him into a mirror. But instead of breaking the mirror, he'd just go into the mirror and then he'd fall out on the other side. And Naruto, who was ready, would infuse his fist with ki and he'd punch him clean into a mirror, which would destroy a whole row of mirrors, and he'd go flying out of it. And this would be right around the time that Kakashi was about to hit Zabuza with the Chidori. As Haku's mask would break off, and he'd look over to see as he'd look over to see what was going on with Zabuza. As then all of a sudden he'd dash as fast as he could and jump in the way, holding out his arms, and he'd get stabbed clean through the chest with the Chidori. As Zabuza would be you could tell that he was shocked, but then at the same time he'd smirk and grab his executioner's blade and then swing it at both of their heads. He'd say, and in his head he'd mentally say, thanks for the assistance, Haku. You did well as my pawn, is exactly what he'd say out loud though. And then all of a sudden Naruto would just punch the hell out of him. He'd hit him doom. And he'd slide, at first he'd go flying, then he'd skid across the ground, and then he'd just come to a stop altogether. As then all of a sudden Sasuke would kick him too. Doom. And then as soon as he'd get next to Ino, she'd make a mud wall in front of him that he'd slam into. As both Naruto and Sasuke would Sasuke would shoot a fireball and Naruto would make a wind style jutsu, and it'd be a miniature tornado. They both throw it as soon as they'd collide, Ino would make a earth dome around Zabuza. And so he'd get hit full force with all of the flames and wind that was hitting him. And then eventually the flames and the wind would mix as it turned into a flaming tornado, as his screams would be heard all throughout the bridge. And then all of a sudden it'd explode, the whole earth dome would explode as smoke would come out of it. And then Zabuza would stumble out, dragging his blade. And he'd look up, and Haku in his last, before he fully passed on, would see this. And then a burst of rage would keep him from slipping away, as he'd pull out two Senbon and were gonna stab Kakashi in the both sides of his neck. And Ino and Sasuke would have jumped into motion and they would have pulled out ninja wire and pulled it around his arms and pulled, like, they'd be pulling as hard as they could. And then eventually Haku's like rage and everything just conked out as he just went stiff and limp. And then Kakashi would snatch out his arm and he'd be like, "Thank you." Give me a second. Sorry about that. But he'd say thank you to the two, and they'd be like, "No problem." And then everyone would look at Zabuza, but Naruto would put out a hand and walk up to Zabuza, and they'd meet. And Zabuza would be like, for some reason, it seemed like he was healing, and his blade would be fixing itself. And you might be wondering why. Well, you see, I'm gonna say that the blade is made out of some type of weird, like iron that can be found in the body. And you see, it heals itself with blood, like the iron found in blood. So when his blood was going to the blade, it started to fix itself because it had cracks and breaks all over it. But then all of a sudden, it's fixed now. So yeah, you'll understand why later on. But for now, yeah. So then after this, Zabuza would start glowing this red energy as like he was going into some type of berserk mode. As Naruto's purple aura would start to leak out of him. And Naruto would draw the katana, and then Naruto would step up to Zabuza, and his forehead would hit Zabuza. And for some reason, Zabuza, like, he wouldn't sense no bloodlust, but like he'd feel danger. As he dodged backwards, like he jumped back as hard as he could. And like his back would hit the mud wall, but he'd be lucky that he jumped away in the first place. Because as soon as he stepped back, Naruto swung the katana, and it was about to cleave his head from his body. But Zabuza would look up, and he'd see the clouds had parted from the slash. And Naruto would look over at Zabuza, who'd dash at him, and they'd start clashing blades. Because Haku, I'm going to say that Naruto added wind chakra and ki to it to make it stronger. And so they're just going at it with them both enhancing their blades with just chakra. No chakra nature, no none of that. Just enhancing their blades with chakra. But Zabuza's blade is winning because, you know, the Executioner's blade is made from a different type of material that's healing from Zabuza's blood. Unless the katana Naruto has is slowly chipping away, right? And I'd say that it break, and it looked just like how Tanjiro's blade looked when he was fighting against Rui. That small little nub he had. And so Naruto would look at it, and then he'd look at Zabuza, who'd be smirking as he'd swipe down at Naruto. But then all of a sudden, Naruto would swing twice in the X-like position at Zabuza, who just, like, his shirt would pop off as blood would squirt from his chest. And he'd fall on his back as Naruto would then look at him. And Naruto would point over at Haku, who, I'd say Kakashi moved around the bridge building. And he'd see that Gato and his men were kicking and stomping on and spitting all over Haku's dead body, right? And then I'd say that then Gato would show up and he'd have a blade that he took from one of the men. And so he'd go to stab Haku with it. But then all of a sudden, like, they'd feel this eerie energy. And it was coming from Zabuza, not Naruto, but Zabuza, who would have been ticked off for the last time today. As this red energy had returned, and his eyes started to shine and glow red. As then all of a sudden, he'd appear next to Gato's men, and he'd start massacring them. And Gato, who would have been just looking at Zabuza, who was next to Naruto, and then when he didn't see him, he turned around only to see the Executioner's blade at his tiny little head. And Zabuza would put it to the side, and then he'd pull it, and then he'd go to swing. But right before the blade hit him, like, he'd miss for some reason, and he'd fall over. And he wouldn't be dead. He'd look up at Naruto, who was still standing over there, who would have now just started walking up to him, which would have scared Gato, who would have tried to run away. But Naruto would have threw the broken, like the piece of the katana left, and he would have threw it, which would have caused Gato to fall on his ass because the katana fell right in front of him. And Zabuza would look up at Naruto and he'd say, "Can you take me over to Haku and keep the blade?" And Naruto would say, "Sure." As all of a sudden, Zabuza would toss Naruto a scroll, and Naruto would take him over to Haku, and Zabuza would have wiped all the spit off of Haku's face, and he would have grabbed Haku's hand, and Naruto would have walked up to the executioner's blade, and when he tried to grab it, a spark of lightning would come off, as Zabuza would say, "I gave you that scroll for a reason. Mark your signature on it. It should poof, and then the blade is yours." As Naruto would do so, he'd bite his thumb, and then he'd mark an N into it, and then it'd poof. As Naruto would then grab the executioner's blade, which would then turn into a katana. As Naruto would be kind of shocked that that big ass sword just kind of turned into a katana, but not a lot of things make sense in the ninja world, Naruto would think to himself. As then he'd walk up to Gato, who would have picked up the broken piece of katana. He would have said, "Stay back. I know how to use this blade." As Naruto would have swung outwards, and it would have shattered the last piece of the blade that was on the katana. And Naruto would have then kicked him in the face and send him into the side of the bridge. And Naruto would say, "Now sign these, and I may spare you." And Gato would sign both. The first one, which would, like, he wouldn't read it, but, like, he'd sign it, but I'll tell you what they read. The first one would say, "The villagers of the..." I honestly cannot remember, like, I could remember it last time, but, like, I can't remember. It'd say the people of the hidden, my bad, whatever village, will get 75% of all of Gato's money and possessions. Well, 100% of his possessions, but 75% of all the money that Gato has, right? And then it says Naruto, like on the other scroll, it say Naruto will receive 25% of Gato's like money, right? 75, 25. And so after this, Naruto would just kind of look at Gato, and he'd turn around and start walking off, which would surprise Gato, because at first, like, he could have sworn that he didn't, like, he could have sworn that he was dead. And then all of a sudden, he would have looked back down, and he'd be like, "Wait a second, where are my arms?" And he'd look back at Naruto, but instead of seeing Naruto, he would have saw his own body. And he'd be terrified, as all of a sudden, he'd be dead. And his body would have fell next to his head. And you may be wondering, what happened? Well, you see, Naruto swung the katana and it cut off his head, but he swung it so fast that it took a while. So when Naruto walked off, Gato still saw Naruto until after the head fell, which he thought, like, he just blinked because his head hit the ground. And so it went dark, and then all of a sudden his head would roll around. And like I said, he tried to look up, but he couldn't see nothing but the sky. So he looked down trying to see his body, but he saw his full body, like his neck down. Let's say that. Right? So basically Gato is dead as well, right? And the villagers would all show up, only to see Gato's dead body, Naruto walking back up to his team, and Zabuza and Haku also dead. But Kakashi and Naruto would take Haku and Zabuza to go bury them, right? And so after this, Naruto would have sealed the katana into his right wristband, and he would have ran to one of Gato's, like one of his, whatchamacallem houses, that he keep his money in. And I'll say this one had exactly 25% of all the money he has, right? And basically Naruto would seal it into a scroll that he'd seal into his left wristband. And then he'd go around to his other houses and then seal all that into a bigger scroll. And then he'd take it and he'd leave it in, like, he'd leave it at Tazuna's house, right? And Tazuna would be shocked by what Naruto was giving them. But Naruto would say, well, I can't just unseal this, so let me show you how to unseal the money. And so he just, like, the basic Naruto, like, you can search up any Naruto character, and if they're holding a kunai, they'll hold out, like, 2 fingers. Like, if you've watched Naruto, you know what I'm talking about. Like, the 2-finger kunai special. But, you know, not the kunai, it's just the 2 fingers. And the other hand would be on the scroll, right? And you just say however much money you need and release, and then after that, the money would come out, right? So then after that, right? After that, sorry, like my brain just had a huge meltdown, right? But after this, they'd return to the village, and it'd take them 2 days, right? And this would be after the bridge. Like, it took them a day. Like, I don't, like, they ain't finished the bridge yet, but like I'd say that they waited a day to make sure no more guys were coming, and then they all booked it towards the Leaf Village around half the day. So I'd say it took them a day and a half to make it back to the village, right? And so once they had arrived back to the village, Naruto would head straight to the Hokage's office, and Kakashi would be like, "Well, I'm going home." Sasuke would say, "Well, I'm just gonna go hang out, maybe with some of the boys from, school." He'd be talking about Shikamaru and Choji, because up in this one, like I said, well, I'm pretty sure I said, it was Sasuke, Shikamaru, Choji, and Naruto. Those were the 4, right? So he'd be talking about he's gonna hang out with Shikamaru and Choji, right? And would say, "Well, I'm just going home." And that's exactly what everyone would do. Naruto would head to the Hokage's office, and he'd be talking with Hiruzen and Jiraiya, who would have been up in there, showing him his latest chapter. His latest novel of Ichi Ichi Paradise, or his, like, you know what I mean, right? And so Naruto would have walked in, and he would have saw this, so he would have closed the door and then opened it again to see Jiraiya sitting there, all professional like, and Hiruzen would have been sitting there smoking from his pipe again. And Naruto would be fairly shocked by this, but he wouldn't honestly care. He'd just walk in and he'd give his report on the mission, and then they'd be like, "Return tomorrow, and then tell us and show us the new bleed that you're talking about, and tell us what it can do, I guess." And Naruto would say, "Okay, I'll tell you everything I figure out by tomorrow." And so, like I said, he'd come back tomorrow, and basically he'd tell them, "Well, you see, the blade doesn't have any special abilities besides that blood can fix it up. So, like, I take some blood out of my body, or, wherever the fuck I can get some blood from, and pour it on the blade, it'll fix itself. So, like, a small scratch or cut or chip in the blade, just bite my thumb, wipe some blood across it, and fix, stuff like that." And they'd be like, "Okay, so no special abilities besides that." And they'd say, "Then what about the katana thing?" "Oh, well, you see, basically, it depends on the user, because Zabuza was a muscly type dude who liked to use range to his advantage. And that's why he had the executioner bleed style bleed, right? While mine is just a normal katana, because one, I'm used to using a katana thanks to hitting, but, he wouldn't say that. And 2, he'd say, and second, I guess it's because I'm not as big and buff as Zabuza, I guess. I guess muscle has to come into play with this blade, but, it really chooses its owner, because, you see, I tried to get Sasuke, like, to be a reference, so I tried to get him to sign the scroll, but when he bit his thumb and tried to sign on the scroll, I guess the blade didn't want him because I guess it's because it knows that he can't beat me. So basically, what I'm assuming would happen is if there's not a better swordsman to beat you and take the blade from you, then there's no way for them to, like exchange users unless like you genuinely see like proof that they can like one day surpass you. And so Hiruzen would kind of chuckle and he'd say, "So you don't think the Sasuke kid can surpass you?" And Naruto would say, "Well, not in swordsmanship. I mean, there's other abilities that Sasuke is most definitely gonna, like he's gonna most definitely get better than me at a few things. But in other specs and abilities, stuff like that, I just don't see that happening. But if depending on what type of amp Sasuke can get later on in the future, he most definitely might be able to outwit me as I am now. And if he can, he'd most definitely be able to beat me." And Sasuke, who was walking past and who would have heard this, like he would have been listening the whole time when they started talking about him. And at first he was kind of getting irritated, but then he'd see that Naruto genuinely believed in him. So he'd kind of smirk and walk off. And Naruto, who honestly didn't know he was there, because he was trying to sense for something else. And then Sasuke would also like feel Naruto get serious. And Hiruzen and Jiraiya, who was in the room, would have seen that Naruto like just got serious for no reason. And Hiruzen would have got an alert, and he would have seen on his scroll that Kankuro, well, who we didn't know at the time, well, we'd see this Sandman holding Konohamaru. And Naruto, not even looking at the crystal ball, would just put he'd look out the window, and then it opened as he just flashed out of the window. And Sasuke, who'd seen like the purple blur go past, and I forgot to mention, I don't know if I mentioned this in the last part, but Naruto has like purple tips on his hair, and so like whenever he, I just think the blonde and the purple goes hard. Yeah. But anyways, that was just a little But anyways, back to the story. Like I said, Sasuke would see a purple blur go past, and him knowing it's Naruto would dash in that direction. Like he'd jump onto a roof and he'd start jumping from roof to roof to try to match his speed. And him jumping from roof to roof was like barely keeping up with Naruto. Sorry about that. But like I said, him jumping from roof to roof, like he wasn't able to cause Naruto, he was just like beelining, like he got onto the ledge of the window, and he pushed off as hard as he could. Not hard enough to destroy it, but like hard enough to get where he needed to go. So like he's just gliding through the air, right? And so Sasuke is barely keeping up with Naruto by jumping from roof to roof, wall to wall, stuff like that, right? And they both make it. Well, Naruto before Sasuke, but Naruto, when he arrived, he'd kick a rock. Like as soon as he landed, he'd kick a rock, and it hit sorry about that. It hit the guy's hand. And Konohamaru would kind of land, and then he'd run behind Naruto. Like he knew it was Naruto. As soon as he saw the blur land, he got a smirk as he'd run behind Naruto. And then all of a sudden, Ino, who was at her dad's place, which I'd say wouldn't be too far from where Naruto is, she'd sense Naruto appear there. And so she'd run over there because she'd felt his deadly aura again, right? And so she was going to run over there and try to calm him down. And then Sasuke would have he would have landed into the tree. And so she'd sense that, and she'd be like, something's wrong. Because, Sasuke would have also had this, his Sharingan would have been active, and, he would have been, glaring at Kankuro. And Kankuro feeling both these pressures exuding off of, Naruto and Sasuke would kind of be, wary of his surroundings. And then Ino would come around the corner from out of nowhere, and she'd see that Konohamaru was kind of I'd say that Sakura would also be there. She'd see Sakura, and she'd go up to Sakura and ask what happened. And Naruto and Sasuke would kind of be listening, and basically what would have been happening is, so like I said, in canon for a few years of Naruto's life, it went exactly how it was in canon, where Naruto liked the Sakura, but she didn't like him back. So yeah, I'm gonna say that the same thing happened except for Naruto wasn't there. So he would have been like, oh, it's big bro Naruto's girlfriend, right? Same thing would have happened, and then she chased him, and then he bumped into Kankuro, and then he grabbed him, and I'd say in this one, unlike in the other one, he hit Konohamaru. And this would kind of tick off Naruto and Sasuke even worse, because I'm going to say that for Naruto and Sasuke, Konohamaru was like their little brother, right? Why? Because I need more reasons to keep Naruto and Sasuke close. Like, for plot, right? For plot. And, you kind of saw Konohamaru, she saw him as, like, her kid. Like, I wouldn't say, like, kid, like, as in her son type, like, her kid brother, right? Someone that was, like, close to her. Like, because I'd say that Konohamaru was close with her family, as long as Sarutobi, or Haruta, whatever you call her. And Asuma would sometimes drop by as well, right? And so, what would happen after this is a few things. Naruto and Sasuke would have been, like, they'd both kind of raise their arm into the air. And then, like, this huge ass fireball would start to descend upon Kankuro, right? Like everyone in the village would have seen this, right? Like, it's just this big ass fireball, right? And Kankuro would be, like, almost pissing himself at this time. And Tamari would have been like, well, he's dead. And she would have started going, she wouldn't have been running. She wouldn't have been running, but, like, she would have been walking away. And, like, Kankuro would be like, oh shit, I'm dead. But then Gaara would show up and he'd be like, wait, calm down. I'll deal with him. Okay? And then it just, like, the fireball would just vanish, as Naruto and Sasuke would have now shifted their focus to Gaara. As Gaara in his coat, like at first, like, you could tell his voice was panicked, but now it's just more calm and cool. He'd say, listen, I'll take care of my brother for you. Just don't blow up your own village trying to kill one person. As then they noticed that, certain stuff was almost damaged. They looked around they saw that buildings, trees, stuff like that would have been caught in the explosion. And so Naruto would have just kicked the rock and it would have hit him dead in the forehead. As Sasuke would have also flicked the rock, which would have hit him in the jaw. And he would have been unconscious on the ground, which would have shocked Gaara. He'd be like, did they just knock out Kankuro with rocks? As Naruto would say, you can take him now. We should be about even. A punch for 2 rocks seems about fair, right? And Gaara would say, yeah. And I'll make sure to thoroughly deal with him later. And Naruto, and then, no, not Naruto, then Sakura would have said, and why are you guys even in our village? And Gaara would say, no, Tamari, who would have just came back and grabbed Kankuro, would have been like, we're here for the tuning exams. And Sakura would have been like, what are the tuning exams? As then Naruto, Sasuke, Ino, and, like, everybody there would have looked at her like she was just retarded. And Naruto, Sasuke, and Ino would have all started walking to Ichiraku's, leaving Sakura there. As Kankuro, Tamari, and Gaara would have all left with Kankuro on Tamari's back, which I can definitely see, because Gaara would not want to hold this man Kankuro. And so then after this, Naruto, like I forgot to say that Konohamaru followed Naruto, Sasuke, and Ino, and they all would have went to Ichiraku's, and then all of a sudden Kakashi would appear in a chair next to him, and he would have handed the 3 tuning exam sign-up papers, and he'd say, "I know you guys want to go, and they'd say, "Yeah, we know, sign this," and they all would have signed. And after they finished signing, they'd hand back the papers, and Naruto would slide Kakashi a bowl, who would have eaten it, and then he would say, "Thank you," and then he would have left. As Naruto would have ordered another one to replace the one that he gave Kakashi, and he would have also paid for Konohamaru, and Sasuke. Damn. And then so after this, after everyone was full and they decided to leave, they'd all go to their house. But Ino would follow Naruto, and Naruto would be kind of confused on why she's following him. Then he just all of a sudden turn to her and he'd say, "So, did you want me to walk you home? I mean, your house, like, it's the other way, but, we could walk, I could walk you home." And who I guess came up with this plan to kind of force him into getting her to walk him home. And so she'd be like, "Yeah, that'd be much appreciated." And Naruto would be like, "But your house is the other way." But he wouldn't say this out loud. And so he'd walk with her to her house, and they'd talk, and they'd be laughing, cracking jokes, and they'd be genuinely having fun, right? And so after this, they'd go, and then Naruto would drop her off, and she'd kiss him on the cheek, and then hurry up and rush in the house, being embarrassed. But her dad, who was at the door, would be like, "You're not taking my daughter." Like a childish, goofy way, right? And Naruto would have been just kind of laughing, and he would have walked home. And we're gonna do, I'll say junior exams. Yeah, so we'll do a 2-day time skip, and they're heading in for their version of the tuning exams, right? And because I'm gonna say that after that day, that's when Naruto did his test, and then original tuning. So once they'd go in, like I said, having the best sensory ability of the team at the moment. Sorry, I was trying not to yawn. She'd sense the genjutsu. She'd kind of look at Naruto and Sasuke, and then she'd smirk knowing that she has something over them. But then, as soon as they hit the hallway, Naruto and Sasuke would look at each other, and then look at who's just laughing and smirking in the back. And then they just kind of, and they'd keep walking, right? And they'd walk, like they'd go up to the fake door, and then they'd be like, same as Ken, and then they were going up to the next floor to go to their room. But then, Lee would come up, but different. But this time it'd be a different person with him. Neji would have also came, and Naruto be kind of confused with Sasuke, and Lee would also be kind of confused. But Neji would walk up to Naruto, who would walk up to Naruto would also walk up to Neji. Sorry about that. I had to yawn and didn't want to have that in it. But yeah. So after that, like I said, they walk up to each other, and Naruto would hold out his fist, and he'd add wind to it. But Neji would like kind of step sideways, and he'd add like, I wouldn't say like full rotation into it, but like he'd step sideways, which would cause like a bit of rotation to go off. And this would, when they fist would collide, a huge gust of wind would go off. As Naruto would say, "I see, it's still as cold as ever." And then Neji would say, "Yeah, and I see you still like to pull pointless pranks." And then Naruto and Neji would start laughing. And Naruto would say, "I'm gonna kick your ass again, right?" And Neji would say, "This isn't gonna end up like last time. I'm most definitely gonna beat your ass." And they'd be laughing. And then Sasuke would walk up to him and he'd say, "Don't forget I'm here. Like, y'all know I'm gonna dog walk both of y'all." And then Lee, who is just getting completely ignored, would look at and he'd say, "So have you seen Sakura?" And would kind of say, "Her team should be coming in back there." And he said, "Okay, then I have enough time to kick both y'all asses." And Naruto and Sasuke would kind of look at him like, "Who the fuck is this guy?" And Neji would say, "Oh, that's my teammate, Rock Lee. He doesn't have ninjutsu, but I'm pretty sure he could take both of you in taijutsu alone." And Naruto would say, "Oh, you must haven't seen my improved taijutsu. Like when I beat you, I had to use jutsu and like time skip. But now, it ain't like I could dog walk you with just ninjutsu and time. Well, with taijutsu and a bit of ninjutsu. Maybe if you can push me far enough, maybe even time skip. But these hands, I would most definitely dog you walk you with." And Neji would be kind of irritated by how confident Naruto seems to have gotten now that he's paired up with Sasuke on the same team. He would have looked at Sasuke and he would say, "Yo, Uchiha, stop rubbing your arrogance all over my past friends." And Neji would then walk off before saying, "Oh, and Uchiha, I'm most definitely gonna prove that the Byakugan is better in this tournament." And Sasuke would be kind of confused by what, bro? Like, what the fuck, bro? And he'd be like, but Sasuke would have said, "You think the Byakugan is better than the Sharingan?" "Oh yeah, you most definitely have." And so, they'd have this stare down with Neji activating his Byakugan and Sasuke activating his 3 Tomoe Sharingan. And then Naruto would kind of step in the way and he'd activate time skip, and neither of them could move, but they both could move their eyes. And then Naruto would stop it and he'd say, "Y'all around the same level. I'd give y'all that." And they'd be kind of confused by what he means by that. And Naruto would say, "Well, you both can only move your eyes. And this wasn't even full time skip. If I were to go full out using time skip, I'd drop both of y'all in a hit. That's on my mama." That's Sasuke. He know what it's by. And Sasuke would, like, he'd feel his chest. He'd say, "Oh, my chest. Oh, my chest." He'd be like, "Don't remind me of that. That shit hurt." And Naruto would say, "Sorry about that. I didn't want to break your ribs, but I had to drop you, my boy. Like you was kind of on my ass back there." And Sasuke would say, and whatever that weird purplish shit you do, yeah, stop that. No, don't hit me with that shit no more." And Naruto would be like, yeah, I know. I'm gonna have a fair fight with you if we fight. And Neji, I'm most definitely gonna cakewalk you. I know for a fact they're gonna match us up again. Like everyone loves when we fight. Like last time me and Sasuke fought, the Uchiha was there to see it, but basically nobody else was there to see our fight. Sorry about that. But, basically after this, and Lee, who was just done being ignored, he'd just throw a kick at both Naruto and Sasuke, and Neji would have started walking off. He'd say, "Well, you two, prove to me that I'm wrong. Show me that you can handle Lee, and then maybe I'll say that you're on my level. But until then, I'm most definitely taking the win and becoming a guinea, and I might even be the only one this year." Sorry about that. I had to stretch. But Naruto, who would have been just looking at Neji walk away, would have just easily had caught Rock Lee's foot. And Rock Lee would be kind of confused. Cause Sasuke would have ducked under it, and Naruto would have caught his foot, and he would have been like dragging him in the air. Like this man's body was not touching the ground. Like he was holding him in the air, and he walked down to the spot where they fought in Cannon, and then he let him go. And then Sasuke would go out first, and since they were only using taijutsu, besides Sasuke who was using his Sharingan to see, Lee would still win this fight, and Sasuke would have kind of, he would be like, "Alright, bet. I just gotta improve my taijutsu." And like I said, he has his 3 Tomoe Sharingan activated, so he was able to copy some of Lee's moves, and was able to, he's gonna be able to use them later on, but not at this moment, right? And so, sorry about that. So, after that, Naruto would go, and, it'd be a very close fight, because, Naruto has no other amp. He's just using his martial arts abilities against Lee's taijutsu. which at first it seemed alright. So the first thing that would happen was Naruto would use boxing, right? And Lee would come at him and he'd throw a kick, but Naruto would like roll under it and then pop him dead in his face. And then when Lee would stumble back, Naruto would switch to Taekwondo and he'd kick him in the head. Dude. And then he'd spin around and he'd switch to karate and he'd chop him in the back of the neck. And Lee wouldn't fall from this, but he'd be met with a knee that Naruto would have used switching to Muay Thai. Like, and then this would cause Lee to stumble back and he'd start smiling. He'd say, I can finally go full out in my, taijutsu ability. And so he'd dash at Naruto even faster and Naruto would match his speed. Like, Naruto would have dumbed down his power because, like I said, up in the wave arc, almost at Rock Lee, to a grown, big-ass, however many pounds, Zabuza, he said Naruto hits like a fucking boulder that is falling from the sky. So if Naruto is hitting that hard, of course he has to dumb down his power to match Lee's, because he don't want to, break his bones. But I'm gonna say that because this man dislocated Zabuza's shoulder. Of course he's gonna be able to beat Lee. Not in the like canon, like in this story. Like don't go watch OG Naruto and look for. Like he didn't say that in OG Naruto, just in this story. But so after this, Lee would start using his like full out capabilities with taijutsu, and he'd even he'd pull off the bandages, and Guy was gonna step in. But then all of a sudden, when Lee would Naruto would go to block it, but like in canon, Lee would go under and he'd kick Naruto in the chin, right? And this would send Naruto into the air. And then Lee was gonna hit him again, but Naruto grabbed his foot and pulled him into the air too. And then he'd start spinning like he was a spinning top, and he was finna slam Lee into the ground. But then all of a sudden, Guy would come in and push Naruto away from Lee, and then he'd catch Lee before Lee hit the ground. And Naruto would kick himself off the wall to keep himself from hitting the ground, hitting the wall that falling on his face, So he'd kick the wall, front flip, land, and then stuff like that, right? And basically this would all lead to Guy scolding Lee. And then we go to the next day where everyone goes, and basically where I'm gonna end this off is where everyone is sitting inside the testing room, and Ibiki hasn't come in yet. So everyone's just talking, stuff like that, and then everyone eventually gets shifted into their rooms, and Naruto is sitting in the first row next to Hinata, like in canon. I ain't gonna change much. I'm gonna just say that everyone was sitting next to each other. Well, damn, am I that dumb right now? All right, so like I said, everyone would be sitting in the same places they sat in canon, right? But the only difference is Naruto has time skip. We'll see what happens in the next part of What If Naruto was the reincarnation of Hit. So, with that being said, I'll see you guys later, and I have another part to record, so see you later.